Good morning. So I'm continuing the Tracton's book, Bright Virtue, Original Innocence. And this is a chapter called Without Origin. Without origin. For there to be an origin, there would have to be a thing which has origin and, as there is not, time dissolves in the equality of luminosity. For there to be cessation, there would have to be an origin, and, as there is not, fear of dying dissolves in the equality of luminosity. When investigated carefully, there can be found no things at all, and so appearing dissolves moment by moment in expanse. This dissolving in no way impedes further appearing, but remains always as the luminous ground, an equality of all seeming phenomena. Because there are no things, there is no meaning to a word such as origin. Because appearing is without origin, it is free from taint, a stainless expanse like the sky. This expanse is a triune dynamic experienced by the mature mind as a meaningfulness, as bliss, and as love. Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. To mature the mind beyond its superstitious belief in what might be called things and liberate it in this dynamic expanse is the purpose of all Dharma's many methods. I think this is a poem, Kanchika it is called. I removed the thorn from my heart. Its name was knowledge and ignorance. I saw the face of love. Now I do not care for philosophies, but only the call of night birds, the darkness of shadows. I came to you through the back garden. The night jasmine languishing over brick wall had no argument with the sureness of my touch, and the gardenias, that favored sister of coffee, with their whispered ballad of moonlight. Well, my intent was not lost on them. The whole garden conspired that green night, and sunlight obliged with its disappearance. And a quote, the Lord awoke like a strong man, powerful but reeling with wine. That's the 78th Psalm. The Son of Mary on the cross, his face battered, bloodied, shone like 1,000 suns as the spirit within him soared like a falcon set loose from the king's arm. Beauty is not carnal, though it does inhabit, incarnate. A guest in flesh and sinew, not like a trapped bird caged, but like a friend whose presence embrightens your home. All of this world emerges from the beautiful, is not elsewhere than the good, but the eye can be confused by the mind. A man can think himself someone else. Mental illness does not take into account reality. Last night's storm whipped through the woods, tore at leaves, broke whole branches. My heart rejoiced. I don't want to live in some protected place, but inside the lightning flash, the brilliance. The Nazarene, Patrul, Yunus, surrendered to that wind, lived within lightning's burn. It's a pretty good bet that a single tear from their cheek is the secret of the philosopher's stone. On the study of Dharma, alchemy. This is a quote from Socrates. The unexamined life is not worth living. And all Dharma teachings are siddhi, the very words, far beyond their linguistic meanings, are Gnostic utterances containing direct divulgence of wisdom. During a phase transition of a given medium, certain properties of the medium change, often discontinuously, as a result of some external condition such as temperature, pressure, and others. For example, a liquid may become gas upon heating to the boiling point, resulting in an abrupt change in volume. The measurement of the external conditions at which the transformation occurs is termed the phase transition. This is from the Wikipedia on phase transition. Dharma is conveyed in a series of propositions that describe the view. In our tradition, the process of Dharma is cultivated in the order view, meditation, and action. To understand the alchemy of Dharma, propositions of to understand the alchemy of Dharma propositions is a subtle and powerful wisdom. In the Zen tradition, there is an emphasis on transmission outside words and scriptures, a direct Gnostic transmission. Within the Tantric Buddhist tradition, scriptures themselves are used as carrying agents for translinguistic transmission outside words or scriptures. Tantra wishes to benefit beings of all levels of understanding. Many can only connect with words and scriptures, while others can delve into the transmission beyond words and scriptures. Tantra serves both through the two levels of alchemical processing of the teachings. Dharma is comprised of a series of propositions. All systems are as is ordinary as once again. Dharma is comprised of a series of propositions. All systems are as it's a print mistake. All systems are as in ordinary life. Though in ordinary life most people's propositions are uninspected and guarded from the combinations of habit and external conditionings. These days, mostly advertising. An advertising controlled consumerist society relies on this unconscious collecting of life propositions. Unexamined, they form a mass of superstitions, often chaotic and contradictory, by which one lives. Everything from things can make you happy to the superstitious birth and death. To the superstitions, birth and death. Tantric Buddhism and all spiritual systems rely on a series of propositions, axioms, a coherent view within which the practices function. This is part of why it is seldom works to mix systems. The methods work within the framework of the systems and in reliance on the axioms. None of the methods are truth. The propositions are also not the truth. They are the structure of a series of psychophysical maneuvers that alchemically transform the body and mind into a system that can directly, Gnostically, know the truth. The truth known has always been said to be beyond the reach of words and concepts. How to work with such propositions so as to not only understand the linguistic word definitions, but the spiritual power and transmission beyond words contained within them, begins with the process of calcination. Calcination in industry and in alchemy is the process of thermal treatment, applying heat to bring about phase transition. In alchemy, calcination is first of a series of maneuvers in the production of the philosopher's stone. An understanding of the process of calcination in the study of Dharma materials is vital to discover the alchemy of view. The unpacking of a Dharma proposition has two fundamental phases. One, consideration. Two, contemplation. I enjoy watching my dog, a small cavalier, run off with a bone and go to work on it. Every time I see her chew and chew single pointedly until every bit is swallowed, I think of Dharma study. The propositions of Dharma should be chewed like this, eaten, digested. Buddha's teachings are living force which needs to be deeply considered. You're not asked for blind faith, but to chew. Hear the argument, consider it in relation to your life, consider its meaning and implications. No authentic teacher is worried about questions of any sort. They have no defensiveness with relation to the teachings. The teachings have shown their truth in the laboratory of their own human experience and that of many others. Chew, consider, fight if you wish, argue, consider again. In the end, life and experience will eventually prove Buddha right. Or you may discover this is simply not the path for you. Perhaps its axioms make no sense, in which case it is fine to go and search for a path which does. Longchenpa wrote, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifest in accord with the needs of beings. There are many manifestations of varying forms, and not all paths are suited to all people. So consider at the level of intellect. In Tantra, you are asked to work with body, speech, and mind. One of the meanings of the word Tantra is to weave body, speech, and mind into a single force of liberation. When you have considered deeply and feel you have a sense of what the proposition means in your life, as well as its corollary implications, then you can begin phase two. There is no end to the consideration of phase one. If you were to take any Dharma proposition and consider it to its fullness, you would end up with a total understanding of everything and the realization of the enlightened state. In phase two, you bind the proposition to mind and heart. This means you hold its meaning in silent, single-pointed concentration. The process of consideration prepares the linguistic formulation as an alchemical substance in your mind. Now you simply hold it with great delicacy in the silence of mind and heart. Much like a koan, you hold it in great concentration. The Zen master Hakuin said you hold the koan as if you have swallowed a molten iron ball and it is burning through everything from the inside out. Knowing that the proposition holds an endless transmission of wisdom, and that the linguistic meaning is merely the price one pays for entering the inner dimension of it, you hold it in great pregnant expectancy. Like a mother about to give birth, you wait, knowing you cannot force. Consideration lights the fire, and the pressure of this binding, holding in silence without looking for anything, begins the process of calcination. The package, the linguistic material, begins to break down. The rasa, the vectorial disposition of flavor, of feeling, of the linguistic meaning is released as volatile wafting essences to be absorbed and integrated. This integration allows the blessing to fill one. Here it is useful to understand that the word blessing in Tibetan does not merely have the sense of being patted on the head by a patriarch, but rather has the alchemical sense of a force which transforms one thing into another. As one moves through the foundational axioms of the path, such as the Four Noble Truths, four thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma, the four immeasurables, the six perfections, they begin to function synergistically to transform the whole way body, mind, feeling, know, and feel. Perhaps an example would be useful of how this synergy works. The four thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma. 1. The preciousness of human birth. 2. Impermanence. 3. Karma. And 4. The potential ceaselessness of suffering. When understood fully, alchemically, these four remove most of the structures that cause obstacles for successful practice of spiritual life. Often people simply rush through the preliminary consideration, but these contain great power, siddhi, and blessing of the Buddhas and sages of all times. Precious human birth is the first of these four and has dramatic meaning. Human birth is not in and of itself precious in this sense. Like all of Buddha's teachings, it offers great possibility, but it also is an argument with human confusions. The preciousness being referred to here is given as a potentiality that must be acted on to become actual. The mere fact of being born is not enough to ensure the preciousness of human life. To exist is not to live in truth, but it does open the doorway. What makes a human birth precious? The possibility of moving beyond delusion, of attaining enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Precious human birth is a gift and a demand. It is the demand that we not waste that opportunity. If it wasted, if it's wasted, then a great tragedy has happened. It is like a king who becomes lost and confused and wanders, thinking he's a beggar. A human being is a unique configuration of processes which allows realization of Buddhahood, enlightenment, more easily than any other configuration of being. Not gods, animals, hell realm beings can match the uniqueness of the human configuration for swift and deep realization. An oak tree produces many thousands upon thousands of acorns over its life of 100 years or so. Very few become oak trees. Some are eaten by squirrels, some become compost for the soil, Some sprout and die. Others are eaten by birds or are collected by kids and end up in a dresser drawer somewhere. Many humans are born, but very few seek the fullness of human birth's meaning. Those who have become dissatisfied with a partial life, those who long for something more, can be said to have precious human birth. If one contemplates precious human birth to the point of cracking open its linguistic structure and contemplating its meanings, if one absorbs the essence of its meaning, then it will destroy even the possibility of meaninglessness. One may still suffer from frustration, dissatisfaction, and the like. One may even suffer from brain chemistry related depression, but one will never doubt again that life is great meaning, great possibility. A quote from Nietzsche: "He who has a why can endure any how." Hmm. The second of the four thoughts is impermanence. All things are impermanent, they come to an end. All opportunities exist only for a limited time, including precious human birth. If you have contemplated the proposition called precious human birth to the point of alchemically understanding, then you will feel aghast at the thought of losing this chance. It is tremendously hard to keep the fact of death present in our minds. When we do, even at an ordinary level, it brings great poignancy and beauty to our field of experience. To consider the fact of our own personal impermanence to the point of alchemical integration with its meaning destroys the structure of complacency, procrastination, and laziness within a human being. The third of the four thoughts is karma. Karma is the momentum of habit, pure and simple. Newton's first law says, "Every object in a state of uniform motion tends to remain in that state of motion unless an external force is applied to it. However it happened is beside the point, but now you are in motion of mixed wisdom and confusion. Today is arisen from yesterday's momentum. If you wish tomorrow to be different, then today you must do something different. You must introduce an equal or greater force. Dharma and its unsullied wisdom is that force, but it must be applied. How is it applied? Through the methods of the path. The methods of the path of configurations of energy designed so as to be able to enter the human system as a force applied to transform habit. We must transform negative habit, which consumes our energy and attention, robbing us the chance of liberation. We transform negative habit into virtue habit, which releases energy and attention, so as to go beyond all habit into pristine, stainless, original innocence and bright virtue. The third of the four thoughts is where existentialism and Buddhism meet. Nature and nurture, essentialist and existentialist, genetics and environment are also co-emergent from the ground of awareness. The seeming dichotomy of these is purely illusory. The alchemical consideration of the third thought that turns the mind to Dharma, removes the structures of self-pity, resentment, blaming others, and the tremendous waste of energy and time these entail. It places the responsibility for our lives squarely on our own shoulders. It does not say we have not been formed by events and circumstances often seemingly outside our control, but it says we can shape our minds, our response, our life, and our actions today. The great existentialist psychologist Viktor Frankl said, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. That is for man's search for meaning. And here's another quote from that book. By declaring that man is responsible and must actualize the potential meaning of his life, I wish to stress that the true meaning of life is to be discovered in the world rather than within man or his own psyche, as though it were a closed system. I have termed this constitutive characteristic the self-transcendence of human existence. It denotes the fact that being human always points and is directed to something or someone other than oneself, be it a meaning to fulfill or another human being to encounter. The more one forgets himself by giving himself to a cause to serve or another person to love, the more human he is and the more he actualizes himself. What is called self-actualization is not an attainable aim at all, for the simple reason that the more one would strive for it, the more he would miss it. In other words, self-actualization is possible only as a side effect of self-transcendence. The fourth of the four thoughts is the fact that suffering will not cease on its own. There is no savior coming to release us magically. There is no harmonic convergence, an end of the Mayan calendar, a dolphin ride, a starship from the Pleiades that will change us automatically. From this point forward, physical evolution will continue unconsciously, but psychological evolution must proceed consciously. It is up to you and you alone. Life is the flight of the alone to the alone. That is a quote from Plotinus in the Enneads. Each proposition of Dharma is a living force to be eaten, internalized, integrated as a change in disposition, character, action. Authentic changes in this level of knowledge require a co-emergent change in the level of one's being. To approach Dharma study as an alchemical activity and their blessing force as an alchemical agent bears great fruit. This is a quote from the direct experience of Kuntu Zangpo's mind tantra. The essence of all phenomena is the awakened mind. This very awakened mind is the mind of all the Buddhas. And the life spirit of every sentient being is this awakened mind as well. And this is a quote from my hero Longchenpa. And he says, until grasping of mind cease within the expanse of stainless space. Okay. Until grasping of mind cease within the expanse of stainless space, the karmas of cause and result manifest as experience and are added upon by the activities of mind. All these phenomena occur in mind. The mind creates, names, experiences. So in order to subdue self-created suffering of delusion, be diligent. That's from Longchenpa. time? 8 o'clock. Let me see. I think we can do a bit more. An aside on the nature of awareness. Often here it is said, essence and nature of your awareness, and that phrase sometimes presents a certain problem. The ocean in its vastness and energy, the ocean in its vastness and energy includes the wave, and the wave is not made of anything except ocean. But it cannot quite be said that the wave includes the vastness and power of the whole ocean. The whole of me includes the hair on my arm, but the hair on my arm does not include the whole of me. I can pull one off. I can pull one off, throw it away, and there's no loss. One hair. I can pull one off, throw it away, and there's no loss. The individual you is made of nothing in reality, and that nothing is original innocence and bright virtue. The individual consciousness does not experience the wholeness of the essence and nature, and cannot. When the fixation on the individual aspect is dissolved, then awareness, in its own mostness, experiences the body-mind without separative identification or identity. So they are the essence and nature of your awareness, but not in the sense of them being yours. The essence and nature cannot be a subset, an object of ownership, or even experience of the separative identity. You cannot experience them or know them. You cannot rest in the presence of awareness. You cannot find the presence of awareness. You are a subset of awareness. Awareness is not a subset of you and your experience. If, and you in quotes, if mind, if mind in its separative identity based functions of conceptuality, so if mind in its separative identity based functions of conceptuality rests in awareness, then mind is gone. Then mind goes where no mind goes. And then there is no personal mind, no identity, no self-location of perception and consciousness. As Milarepa once said, I do not see consciousness, awareness sees. It is common to hear Dzogchen teachers talk of finding the presence of awareness these days, or of resting in the presence of awareness. But this is silliness. Awareness has no presence. In fact, it is characterized by an absence of presence. What Dharma practice does is unstructured. What Dharma practice does is unstructure the rigidity of conceptual structures. When all concepts have been unraveled in this way, what is left is a vast expanse of unutterable mystery, and within that, a pervasive luminous clarity. That's beautiful, no? What Dharma practice does is unstructure the rigidity of conceptual structures. When all concepts have been unraveled in this way, what is left is a vast expanse of unutterable mystery, and within that, a pervasive luminous clarity. These give birth to their magical child of unceasing appearances. when the vast of awareness interfaces with the body-mind without the meditation of consciousness, then it simply shines in, as, and through that body-mind without the self-reflexive activity of a me, mine, or I. There's absolutely no my awareness sensation, concept, or identity. So long as that is there, then one may be finding and resting in this or that expanded sensation or experience of self reflexive consciousness, but not in pure awareness. Such ease can be lovely, but what one must continue on and one must continue and on, journeying deeper on this flight of the alone to the alone. So I hope I read that clearly enough. I think until here for today. So have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this. Bye for now.